Welcome back to Kleppers Corner. Today in history, the show where we discover that every day on the calendar is basically a cosmic rerun of Who Screwed Who First. Today's date, October 19th, has seen everything. Collapsing empires, collapsing economies, collapsing VHS rental chains. It's the historical equivalent of your cousin Todd's third marriage. Doomed from the start, but entertaining to watch unravel. This is the day that shaped civilizations, redefined science, and gave humanity its favorite hobby, starting wars we immediately regret. So buckle up, because from Hannibal's elephants to Kevin Costner's Oscars, we're taking a time-traveling dive through chaos, genius, and pure historical absurdity. Segment 1, the Battle of Zama, 202 BC, the original world domination DLC. Let's start 2,200 years ago at the Battle of Zama, where Rome, the scrappy startup of the ancient world, finally went full Amazon and crushed its competition. Hannibal marched elephants through the Alps, thinking no one will see this coming. And sure, no one expected a surprise elephant parade in the snow, but in the end, Rome had something stronger: horns. Yes, Scipio literally scared elephants with noise. The first historical example of winning a war by annoying someone louder. Carthage lost 40,000 men. Hannibal's army collapsed, and Rome basically became the Walmart of the Mediterranean. This was the original hostile takeover. And after the battle, Rome forced Carthage to pay reparations and banned them from having a military. Because nothing says we believe in peace like making sure your rival never gets another sword again. It's a reminder. History's victors don't just write the story, they also edit the sequel. Segment 2, 1216 to 1512, Magna Cartas, Mad Kings, and the first influencers. Fast forward to the Middle Ages, where October 19th kept busy with kings dying, treaties signing, and people inventing new ways to argue with the Pope. In 1216, King John of England, yes, that King John, the guy who made Robin Hood go full socialist, died mid-Civil War. His death basically forced the nobles to go, fine, we'll support his 9-year-old son instead. And just like that, the Magna Carta survived. Because sometimes democracy is saved by the world's most unprepared child. Then we get to 1386, when Heidelberg University opened in Germany. Students studied Aristotle, theology, and apparently how to drink beer while inventing existentialism. The place produced scholars, reformers, and eventually, Germans who thought building really complicated machines was a hobby. By 1469, Spain decided, let's get married and conquer everyone. Ferdinand and Isabella tied the knot, funded Columbus, and launched centuries of colonialism. Because apparently, love and empire go together like tapas and smallpox. And in 1512, Martin Luther got his doctorate. That's right. The man who later told the church to take its indulgences and shove them had to first defend a dissertation. Proof that all revolutions start with someone saying, actually, Professor, I disagree. Segment 3, 1781. Yorktown, the British lose, America starts bragging. Jump ahead to 1781. Yorktown. The moment Britain realized their 13 colonies were not going through a rebellious phase. George Washington, the original influencer, teamed up with France to beat the world's biggest empire. That's like teaming up with your ex's worst enemy to win a custody battle. Cornwallis surrendered. His troops marched out while, allegedly, a band played The World Turned Upside Down. America called it independence. Britain called it Tuesday. But here's the thing. While white colonists were toasting freedom, thousands of enslaved people who'd fought for the British hoping for liberty got handed right back into bondage. America, where freedom is a limited time offer, batteries not included. Still, Yorktown set the stage for American exceptionalism, losing wars dramatically, then insisting it was all part of the plan. Segment 4, 1813, Napoleon's big oops at Leipzig. In 1813, Napoleon, history's most confident short guy, decided to fight half of Europe at once. Spoiler, it didn't go well. The Battle of Leipzig, aka the Battle of Nations, was so massive it made World War I jealous. Over 500,000 soldiers fought, and by October 19th, Napoleon was in full strategic withdrawal mode, also known as running away. Then a bridge blew up early, trapping thousands of his men. Even in retreat, the guy managed to invent rush hour traffic. It was the end of an era. France went from continental superpower to that guy who still thinks he's the main character. Napoleon would be exiled, come back, and lose again. Because if at first you don't succeed, invade Waterloo. Segment 5, 1847, Jane Eyre and the Rise of Feelings. On October 19, 1847, Charlotte Bronte published Jane Eyre under the name Currer Bell, because back then, women had to cosplay as men to get published. The book changed everything. It was gothic, romantic, feminist, and incredibly British, meaning 400 pages of emotional repression and thunderstorms. Jane Eyre basically invented the I can fix him genre. And Charlotte, she outwitted every critic who said women couldn't write serious novels. Today, she'd have a podcast called Gaslight, Gatekeep, Gothic. It's funny, centuries later, Jane Eyre still holds up. Every woman who's ever dated a man with mysterious emotional trauma is living Bronte's sequel. Segment 6, 1900 to 1914, quantum mechanics and muddy trenches. October 19th, 1900, Max Planck invented quantum physics, accidentally. He just wanted his math to work, and instead, he shattered reality. Thanks, Max. Now no one can explain how microwaves heat soup, but not the spoon. Then, exactly 14 years later in 1914, humanity decided, you know what? Let's test physics by blowing everything up. The First Battle of Ypres began. It was trench warfare, gas masks, and mud as far as the eye could see. 500,000 casualties later, everyone realized maybe industrialized murder was a bad idea. That's the story of early 20th century Europe. Scientists discovering quantum magic, while politicians discover how to ruin it. Segment 7, 1950 to 1987. The Cold War gets weird. By 1950, October 19th had gone global. On the same day, U.S. forces captured Pyongyang and China conquered Tibet. One planet, two occupations, both saying, we're liberating you by force. Meanwhile, the Soviets and Japan signed a peace declaration in 1956, but forgot to fix the map. So they're still arguing about islands today. Then came 1960. America slapped Cuba with a trade embargo because Castro nationalized our oil refineries. And for 60 years, U.S. politicians have been like, we'll end it any day now. It's the foreign policy version of, I'll start my diet Monday. Jump to 1983. Congress finally approved Martin Luther King Jr. Day after 15 years of debate. 15 years. That's how long it took to decide honoring a civil rights hero wouldn't destroy civilization. And then 1987, Black Monday. The stock market lost 22% in a single day. Wall Street panicked, computers broke, and some guy in a tie said, maybe automation isn't all good, foreshadowing every tech headline since. Segment 8, 2005 to 2008, from Saddam to space. October 19th, 2005. Saddam Hussein went on trial for crimes against humanity. The world called it justice. Iraq called it chaos. Lawyers got assassinated, judges got threats, and the entire courtroom felt like an episode of Law & Order Baghdad Unit. On the same day, Hurricane Wilma became the most intense Atlantic storm ever recorded. Nature literally said, you think you're powerful? Hold my tropical depression. And just to balance it out, NASA launched the Interstellar Boundary Explorer in 2008 to map the edge of our solar system, because humans are incapable of minding their own business. We've gone from conquering continents to poking holes in the galaxy. Segment 9, 1985 to 1990, Blockbuster and Dances with Wolves. In 1985, the first Blockbuster video opened. Remember Blockbuster? That temple of popcorn, late fees, and awkward family debates over which VHS to rent? It was Netflix before the Wi-Fi. It grew into a cultural empire, then vanished faster than dial-up internet. The fall of Blockbuster is like the Roman Empire, but with worse fashion and more Paul Blart Mall Cop. 5 years later, Dances with Wolves premiered. Kevin Costner made a 3-hour movie in Lakota, and America went, this is groundbreaking. Mostly because it was the first Western where the Native Americans didn't immediately die in the first 10 minutes. It won 7 Oscars, proving that nothing impresses Hollywood like a white guy apologizing artistically. Conclusion, the tapestry of October 19. So, what have we learned? That October 19th is history's Swiss Army knife, a day that ends wars, starts nations, and occasionally invents Netflix's predecessor. It's a date of creation and destruction, revolution and resignation. From Scipio's triumph to Saddam's trial, from Jane Eyre's voice to Planck's quanta, from Martin Luther King Jr. Day to the death of Blockbuster. It's all part of the same messy, miraculous story of humanity. Smart enough to change the universe, dumb enough to repeat it. History doesn't just rhyme. It drops the same beat every century. And on October 19th, the chorus is clear. Everything ends, everything begins, and someone's always making a terrible sequel.